Simplified Chaos, episode 57.
Life is beautiful and full of chaos.
And it can get slightly out of hand if that shit's not tamed.
We're here to share how to simplify the little things to help you lead a more intentional life.
This is Simplified Chaos.
Hello, wonderful friends. Welcome to another amazing episode of Simplified Chaos. This is Jillian, one of your hosts, and I'm with my co-host and ruggedly handsome husband, Nick. Oh, Liz.
What's going on, folks? We have another great episode here for you today. Jilly, what are we talking about?
Today's exciting episode is all about a new reason for traveling.
Yes, we've had an amazing experience this past weekend, which has completely changed our perspective on traveling, and we can't wait to share this episode with you and also another very special episode on our next one. So we're going to keep you all in suspense, but we'll probably allude to it at some point during our conversation here. So
it's 100% going to happen.
Yes. So before we dive into our new reason for traveling, time to show a little gratitude, Jilly. What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for that little coffee shop we went to in
St. Louis,
Missouri. In St. Louis.
St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri. For some reason, every time I'm about to say Missouri, I'm like, Minnesota, Michigan,
Montana.
I think of all of the M states, and I'm like, nope, not them. Yeah, that was the first coffee shop I've ever been to that had a play area for kids. And I'm just like, why aren't all coffee shops like this?
Yes. It was funny. I went there twice. And both days that we went there on a Friday and a Saturday in the afternoon. And it was daddy daycare. It really was both days. It was dads with their kids, the dads grabbing coffee and us sitting around talking sports or whatever, and the kids just having a great time in this little play area. It was freaking fantastic.
Dads are rocking it.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm forgetting. Why am I drawing a blank on the name of it? Do you remember the name of it?
It was called, starts with an H.
Damn it.
I know. I'm blanking too.
Hippopotamus.
Hip Hop Anonymous.
I don't know, but I kind of want
It'll come to me in just a minute, and we'll definitely put it in the show notes too.
Yeah, it was such a sweet little coffee shop in the middle
Hartford
Coffee, something like that.
Something like that.
It was
Hartford Cafe
in the middle of a
little neighborhood. I think it was
neighborhood.
Town Grove or Tower Grove.
Tower Grove.
Yeah, we're really specific with where we were staying.
Right
yeah,
now.
I know. This is really, really good. You guys are probably like, all right, these guys don't know what we're talking about. We're gonna turn this podcast off. So.
But anyway, it was such a wonderful treat just because usually when you go in coffee shops, it's like, okay, how am I gonna entertain Lucille while I enjoy a latte? And we were hungry. We just got off the plane and we wanted to eat. And there was just this nice little vintage play area with all of these old toys. And Lucille just immediately was like, oh, I'm digging in. And I'm having fun by myself. I don't care where mom and dad are. Like, I'm just going to do me. And anyway, I was just very appreciative of the kid area. It was lovely. But yeah, what about you?
I'm grateful for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
For just these awesome ideas that you have for us to do things for this podcast and really, pushing us to do these kinds of things that we would never do before. And I can't, this has been a vacation, if you want to call it a vacation or a trip, unlike any other trip that we've taken. And at the end of the day, it was just completely amazing. And it's your open-mindedness, your creativity that made this and sparked this and made it all happen. So I'm just truly appreciative of you keeping this relationship spicy and spicy and unexpected, but just doing things that are really awesome and things that we might not have even thought about doing a year ago, 6 months ago, or hell, even 2 months ago. So thank you. This has been awesome.
Thanks, babe. That was really sweet.
Yeah. All right. Enough of the sappiness.
We're not a pine tree. Let's get to it.
Yeah. So let's dive into our new reason for traveling.
All right. So we could come out at this with different angles, but I just wanted to start off just saying that we traveled for a reason we've never traveled for. Usually we travel to visit a new place, or we want to try some new restaurants, or we want to see, or we want to meet family and friends. But this trip was unlike any other because we flew to a new state. We paid money to fly and stay at a place we've never been to, and to meet people we've never met before in real life.
Yeah, complete strangers who ended up being completely awesome.
Holy moly. It was the energy that I got from meeting them is like unlike any other. Like the vibrational energy that was just like so excited but scary at the same time. Like when they first came to the door to like meet us, I was like, oh my God, what is this going to be like?
Right.
It was like weird, scary, exciting, all of the emotions at once. And it was just so fucking rad.
It really was. And I felt a connection instantly with them. And, you know, this is people that we're interviewing for our next episode.
Yes.
So this is the reason why we traveled out there. And, you know, Jill, I guess, you know, we'll probably dive into it a little bit more next week. But, you know, how did you meet them? Because I think this is a really cool story and how we got out to St. Louis.
Okay. So originally we were going to fly out to California.
Yeah.
To record a podcast
we were going to be
in
sunny, warm California as opposed to 20 or 14 degrees St. Louis when we left the day there.
So the original plan was we were going to fly to California, and we booked the tickets and everything, and then just things weren't working out. So we're like, let's postpone it and go out to California in the summer.
Yep.
So we canceled our flight, and then I reached out to somebody that I think I actually quoted her because I listened to a podcast episode, or I saw her quote on Instagram, and I reposted it on an Insta story, and it was from Michelle Knight. And that's kind of how I think I found her at first, was through a podcast.
Right.
And I looked at her profile and I saw what she was posting, and I was just immediately drawn to her energy, the content she was putting out. And I went on her website and I read her story and learned more about her. And I was just blown away by the life events that had happened to her, and then what had led her to ultimately her career she's living now and the life she's living. And she's a branding coach. And honestly, I really don't know much about branding coaches. So there's a lot of question marks and a lot of I was just pulled, like, I want to meet this person.
Right.
So it was like on a whim. I was just like, let's, I'll ask her. I'll see if she wants to be interviewed, and if it's okay if we can meet up with her. Because I know some people may think that's really strange. I'm like, hey.
I mean, most people who do a podcast interview will do it over Skype or some kind of online forum, and we were like, no, we're gonna come out to you.
Yeah. So I reached out to her and said, hey, can we interview for our podcast? This is what we're all about. I'm just loving what I'm reading about you, and I think others would really benefit from hearing your story and your perspective and how you've just changed your life and how you're just living happy as hell. And she was just like, I think this sounds awesome. Just, could you give me some more details, and like, let's try to make this happen. And I got this great energy already from just a simple message on Instagram. And I'm like, yes. So we started emailing, and we didn't really email that much. And all of a sudden I was like, hey, are these dates available? She was like, sure. I'm like, well, we need to find an Airbnb. What area should we look in? And she said, hey, I have friends that own an Airbnb. Let me give you the link. And then if you want to stay there, let's make it happen. Because she was like, I really love that area. I actually stayed in that Airbnb for some time. I had to rent it out because there was a time in her life where they needed a house and a place to stay. So it was just such a small world how things just started magically connecting together. So we booked everything that day. Yeah.
So I was like, this is happening. And it was going at warp speed. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, I already got the time off because we were going to go to California. So I was like, yeah, let's do St. Louis. And one of the cool things was, I was kind of joking with Jill when we were, on the trip. I think we were either driving back or even driving, around to somewhere or walking. I don't even know what it was. And I was like, this is like a modern day kind of pen pals thing where we're actually meeting a pen pal. And you had a good idea of calling it hashtag Instapals.
Instapal.
Yeah. So these are now our Instapals. But yeah, I mean, it was, without giving away too much of the interview, because we want you all to listen next week, just meeting this family and connecting with them right away. And, with this podcast next week, it's you interviewing Michelle. We brought Lucille with us, which we'll dive into that a little bit more about how traveling with a toddler has changed a little bit since she was an infant. But for the most part, it hasn't changed much. But, so I hung out, with Michelle's husband, Ben, and their son, Cal, and I had Lucille. So it was you and Michelle one-on-one. But I felt like I was interviewing Ben and getting to know somebody who, it feels like we've known them our whole lives. They were both very open, very positive people. And
we had similar values.
We had very similar values. And we got to hang out with them for basically an entire day. Like you did the podcast in the morning. I hung out with them and we basically, watched our kids and hung out at the coffee shop and did the daddy daycare. And then we met up at the brewery later on in the afternoon and, just shot the shit for a couple hours. And the kids were dancing because there was live music. I mean, it was just an all-out fun day and a great reason for us to visit a new city, because I don't know that we would necessarily visit St. Louis at all.
No. And it was quite a little gem. Like the area we stayed in had this beautiful park.
Yes.
Right there. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how the trip went, because I know some people are probably like, what are the details? Like, how did it happen?
Yeah.
And so just to paint the picture for you, Friday morning, we flew out to Missouri and we got there, we rented a car, and I didn't know you could rent kid seats. We're learning all the things with traveling with a toddler. So we rented the kid
And they call seats differently. So we ended up, they're like, do you need an infant seat, a toddler seat, or a booster seat? And I was like, well, Lucille's technically a toddler. So I was like, a toddler seat. So it ends up being this front-facing seat where the seatbelt actually is strapped her in, rather than, I guess I should have gotten the infant seat. So we're learning there. But I mean, it ended up working out. I mean,
it was perfect.
We drove from the airport to the Airbnb, and then from the Airbnb back. I used the car a couple other times with Lucille not in it. And actually, through my discount program at work, got an insane deal on this rental car for 3 days. And it would have been cheaper than us taking an Uber from the airport to the Airbnb and then the Airbnb back to the airport. So that worked out perfectly.
Yeah. So we got to our Airbnb. We're allowed to check in early, which was fantastic. So we got settled in and then we immediately walked to the coffee shop because we were both really hungry.
We were hungry and craving coffee.
So we got lattes. Lucille played for a little bit. We had some lunch. Then we walked back home, and it was a pretty, I guess, traveling just makes the day feel a lot more exhausting to me, like just being on a plane. And I mean, Lucille checked into Boob Central as soon as we got on the plane. So it was like on and off boob, on and off boob, on and off boob. And that was exhausting, but I am so grateful for my body for being able to provide that sanity saver for me, like not trying to do all the things to entertain Lucille and bring all the things. It was like, she likes the boob now, even if she's not getting anything out of it. Get on it, Lucille, and it worked out really well.
Essentially, it was in almost a 2-hour flight, and she slept for the first 50 minutes on your boob. Basically from the time we took off until the time we were about halfway there, and then the rest of the time, entertainment was the magazine or the
ice
book,
in the cup.
or ice
Simple
in the cup,
things.
or even the pretzels on the plane. I know you weren't a fan of the pretzels because of the enriched wheat flour.
God
However,
damn it.
she dug them. She ate a couple of them. We got her crackers for the way back, which we left in the bag.
I let go a lot of control when it comes to nutrition and just entertaining Lucille. It's like, you know what? If it's going to work right now, it's just let it happen.
And we didn't get her own seat. She was still on our laps.
So
which
she
has a couple months left until we actually have to start buying her a ticket. So, when we go out to California later this year, which will be after her birthday, we're going to have to buy her a seat.
We sure are.
Yep. But I mean, she did great in our laps. She's at that age where she is kind of antsy and needs to be up. But I was actually pleasantly surprised that she was totally cool, mostly in your lap. I mean, there was very rare that she was in my lap, but
it was fine.
It wasn't a long flight. And she just did amazing. Like, she loves flying. This is the second, I mean, if you count it, she's been on a plane 4 times now and has done amazing each one of them.
Oh, because when she was in me, but not out of me, that
No,
part?
no, because you have to fly to a location and back.
Oh, okay. I was going to
Yeah.
say, we did go to Arizona together, but she wasn't technically
Yeah.
out of me yet.
She's a world traveler at this point, but yeah, I mean, she's been great. The nice thing is, like, I know a lot of people have fear about or anxiety. I guess maybe not fear, but anxiety about traveling with a toddler. Yeah, every toddler is different and may react differently, but what you really don't appreciate, I think, is just how out of the way that some people go at the airport just to make sure that you're getting through the gate on time. I mean, they're very accommodating. Like the TSA, actually, for everybody that says everything about them, they do have some decency and will get you to the front of the line and get you through and make sure that it's an easy experience, because they, at the end of the day, they do realize and they see parents go through there every day, and some of them are happy, some of them are struggling, but they really do go out of their way to try to make it as easy as possible to get through that security line.
And I know we also kind of reflected on that sometimes we feel so much anxiety and worry about traveling that we start searching like what to bring on a plane for a toddler, how to entertain her, what to do to keep yourself, not going crazy. And at the end of the day, it's like those blog posts or whatever, these lists, you may find a slight tiny nugget of value, but honestly, I was telling Nick that we know her the best.
Yes.
Just go with your gut, like know your kid and just bring what you know is going to make your kid happy in that kind of circumstance. And we didn't bring all the things because we knew Lucille loves the boob. So it was like we didn't pack all the toys. We just packed some snacks and her water bottle. And
we had puppy dog pals and a couple episodes of Bluey on reserve just in case, but we didn't need to bust out the phone for that. So
I guess just anyone out there that's traveling or has, fear with traveling with kids or toddlers or babies, just go with your gut and just know that you know what's best. And just go with your gut. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, getting back to kind of what our trip looked like. So we got lunch at the coffee shop and had a ball, hung out there for a little bit. And then we walked back since it was like maybe a 10-minute walk, if that.
Yep.
And we were so exhausted. We were like, and because of having Lucille, it's just easier to order takeout these days.
Well, before we did that,
we
got back to the place and it was raining on Friday.
Yeah. It was raining.
And our daughter, being our daughter, wanted to go outside and, of course, jump around in the puddles. And we brought her boots. So we found this alley behind our place that we were staying because it had some pretty massive puddles back there. And Lucille was just walking up and down and jumping in them and having a blast. We get to the other end of the alley and we find this organic market.
Which was heavenly.
Which was heavenly. And Jill bought $10 honey.
It pays to get some good honey.
Yes, it was really good.
I wanted a little honey in my coffee.
But no, we were able to get some good breakfast food because we cooked breakfast in both days. And I mean, the place was really cool. It reminded us of this place around our area that we typically go to when we are feeling organic and want to go to that market. But it was great. Like the people in there were so nice, and Lucille was just having a ball going around and just looking at the different things and trying to put stuff in the basket. But, then it wasn't like any other vacation that we went to because we feel like we have to go places, not like crazy and like have a jam-packed schedule, but we usually try to find places to go out and have a good time or eat. And
we usually eat out a lot instead of cooking. But yeah, this trip was different. I think having Lucille with me makes me want to stay in a little bit more just because I know that she's comfortable with that space. I'm comfortable with her in that space. I know that she can kind of be like a free-range chicken because that place was kind of child-proof. It was not child-proof, but it was child-friendly because the owners had children and they had some toys and some things that Lucille was familiar with. So I find that traveling with Lucille kind of helps me make sure to really find a place that's homey and that she's comfortable in it too.
That's another great thing about Airbnb. I mean, the hosts knew that we were traveling with a kid and they had a pack and play there. And they had some kid toys that were just out. And she had this little cart that she has here at home, which they had a similar one there. And she went right for that and started just going around the house and having a good time. So that's what, Airbnb, like, they just go out of their way to make sure that you're having a great experience. I mean, not all Airbnbs might not be like that, but like for the most part, like they're accommodating
they're out there
as
just
hell.
to find them, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, they do whatever they can to make people feel accommodated and comfortable in their homes or wherever it is. And so it's just a great service. I really hate that people are like trying to shut these people down or make it more difficult for people to rent stuff. I mean, they're providing a great service for people, and so keep doing you, Airbnb.
So yeah, we spent $80 at the natural market buying the necessities like pasture raised eggs, and we got Lucille
They were
some
delicious.
Simple Mill crackers and some Annie's mac and cheese and just the goods. And then we decided to take out Thai food that night.
Yes.
And luckily we had the car, so you didn't have to go walking too far because it was pretty cold at that point.
And it was still raining.
So we got food, and by that time Lucille fell asleep super early, and I think we kind of ate dinner with her. She had fallen asleep already, I think.
Yeah.
And then we were able to eat dinner by ourselves, and I somehow convinced you to watch Aladdin in real life, like the real people Aladdin.
So we were actually watching Aladdin before I even picked up the food.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, remember I went and got it.
I was so excited.
Yeah. The new version of Aladdin, not the old Aladdin.
I said with real people.
The new version of Aladdin, not the old Aladdin.
There's not another... forget it.
I know.
I'm just surprised you watched with me because you're so anti-kids movies. I'm
going to have to get used to it.
Yeah. So anyway, it was quite a little treat, and Lucille had a pretty rough night. She woke up around 9:30. Her teeth were pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
They were pretty gnarly. She did not like her teeth.
No.
And I think probably the other factors are just being somewhere new, and she's in a new bed, and there's probably a lot of things that were just colliding. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the first time that I had to turn on the TV in the middle of the night. And we watched 3 episodes of Puppy Dog Pals. She still hadn't fallen asleep, but I was like, I'm going to take a gamble and see if I can get her back into the bed. And luckily that gamble worked out. She was ready to go to sleep at that point and you know, slept through the night. But it was rough because, you know, she woke up at 9:30, and I think I turned Puppy Dog Pals on around 11:30. So we had a solid 2 hours of trying to figure out what to do. And finally it was like, all right, Puppy Dog Pals it is. An hour and a half later, finally back to bed.
Yeah, I was very grateful for you that night because I know I had tried, and then you were like our last savior, and I was so fucking exhausted. I was just
You're exhausted
out.
And your nipples needed a break.
I appreciate that. So yeah, we got some sleep, and then we were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed the next morning because Lucille was up.
Yep.
And hung out with Lucille, made a banging ass breakfast with the food we had, and it was about that time that Nick wanted to start setting up our little quote-unquote podcast studio.
Man, that was difficult because every room in that house echoed, but they had this really cool, I don't even know what you call it.
It was like a free hanger.
A free hanger. And
hanger
so
on wheels.
they had these big blankets. So I was able to put a blanket on the bathroom door and then a blanket over this free hanging, what'd you call it?
It's like a hanging rack.
A hanging rack on both sides of the microphone. And I think it's the best audio quality we've ever had on this thing. So, yeah, we're taking some notes on how to improve that too. But, you know, from what I've heard from the podcast already, because I'm still editing it, it sounds really great.
It's good shit, Nick.
Yeah. So we got the podcast studio, quote unquote, set up.
So Nick was setting up. I was able to kind of sneak out and go for a little walk while it was kind of warm. We woke up and it was like
it was warm, 50s? And then as the day went on, it got colder and colder.
So Lucille and I snuck out and went for a nice walk at the park right nearby, which was beautiful. So many puddles. She got soaking wet, fell, got a big old bruise on her head, and I don't even know if you noticed it, Nick, but because her hair hit it very well. But right when we were walking back, she did quite this fun tumble right in her head in the concrete.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I'm getting used to her falling now, so it's not so bad anymore.
She doesn't make a big deal out of falling. Like,
no.
Usually there's no crying or anything. She picks herself back up and goes. But every now and then it's a tough fall.
So yeah, we were able to have probably like a good half-hour walk with just us two. And then we came back, and it was getting close to the time where Michelle and her family were going to come over, and Lucille just decided to take a nap. So she fell asleep around the same time that our interview was going to start. Michelle was running a little late because of some other things happening, which kind of worked out. So Lucille got some more sleep time.
Yep.
Then they finally got there, which was so exciting. And we chatted for a while before we decided to start the interview.
Yeah.
And then we did the damn thing. You guys went to your coffee shop. Michelle and I went straight to action.
We went to the playground at first, which was halfway underwater because of all the rain the night before, and it was just getting colder and colder. And Ben was like, do you want to go to this coffee place that has a little play area? I was like, yeah, we went there yesterday. I am definitely down for that. So we headed over there and chilled while you guys did your thing, and it was awesome.
Yeah, so we chatted for about almost an hour and 20 minutes, and afterwards, we just were saying how cool it was to hang out with them, and we were asking about just different breweries, and they said there was a couple breweries in walking distance that sold sour beers, and I was like, let's go, Nick.
Into sours.
So somehow we ended up, she was like, hey, we're meeting friends, maybe we can hang out later, and something happened with the brewery they went to, and they're like, hey, we're coming to you.
Oh yeah, they were closing early for a private party.
So we all ended up at the brewery called Alpha.
Yep.
And there was live music. We were dancing, chilling. Lucille entered a wet white t-shirt contest and
she
spilled water all over.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, she so very interesting fact. Well, it's a fact, but I mean, it is a thing. But the friends that Michelle and Ben were hanging out were our Airbnb hosts.
Yeah.
And so when Lucille decided to have a wet t-shirt contest and dump a whole glass of water on herself, they had an extra dress for their daughter who was there with us and was very gracious enough to let Lucille wear that. And we left it behind at the Airbnb. But
I never carry extra clothes in
no,
her bag.
we usually don't. And
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But it was really nice of them to do that. And, we got to meet them and kind of hear the story about their Airbnb and the house that they had there. And it was really cool just hanging out and just meeting new folks who, have very similar values to ours and, just kind of, building our global tribe.
Global tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, everything seemed to happen so seamlessly. And I know it took effort to get there and make this happen, but I think once we got there, things just seemed effortless.
Yes.
I don't know how else to describe it, and it was really funny when we left the brewery and we were walking back. Again, the walkability of our Airbnb was phenomenal. So we're walking back, and I don't remember the exact words you used, Nick, but I know you were feeling pretty good because you had some beers, then you had a glass of whiskey, and you're like, we have to meet strangers more often. You were like, this was really cool.
Yeah.
And we both agreed, we were just on a travel high. The energy that we had from just meeting them and hanging out with them just from that 24 hours was just incredible. And
I mean, motivates us to continue, continue doing this and getting better each time. There's a lot of great people out there doing great things. And, with our first interview with Amy and Brian, and now, meeting Michelle and Ben, I mean, this is just kind of fueling our creative juices and pushing us and wanting us to do more. And we are going to be doing more. Like I said, we have a couple very special things coming out relatively soon. February 1st, we have a very big surprise. Should I just say it? No, we're going to wait for that podcast to come out. But yeah, we're working very hard to continue to deliver great content, and meeting these people is lighting that fire and really pushing us to deliver better content and really at the end of the day, we're doing this for the those of you who are listening. We really hope you're getting value out of each one of these episodes that we do, and just finding those little golden nuggets that might help improve and or at least help make you more intentional in your lives, or help be a little bit more happier. So we really appreciate your support and your listenership as well.
Your listenership.
Yeah.
You sound so professional.
Oh, Jesus. You're always busting my balls, Jilly.
I have to. We have to play. That's what makes relationships fun.
That's right.
And I think just to kind of sum up this trip, I think it just kind of shows me, it just gives me proof that there are such good people out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it might take a little bit of effort, but they're out there if you find them and just fucking run to them and connect with them and don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's, again, I said at the beginning of the episode, this is something that we wouldn't have done in the past. And now that we're doing this, and it's just been really an amazing experience. I mean, you know, just connecting with these great people. So I'm looking forward to continuing doing this.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, because we're going to do it.
A new reason for traveling.
That's right.
Meeting people we've never met before in real life.
That's right. All right, Jilly, do you have any resources for our listeners?
I do.
All right.
So I found this blog post, and the title of it was The Power and Science of Social Connection. And I was very intrigued because I'm not all about numbers, but I love hearing the science and the data behind certain topics.
Yeah.
So the question they posed was, how many people in your life do you feel comfortable with to share a personal problem? And it had, according to, and I know this is from 2004, according to 2004 research in the United States, it said the most number of people have 2 people who they can share a personal problem with. And 1 in 4 people, or 25% of Americans, didn't feel they had a connection with another person whom they could share a personal problem with.
Interesting.
It's so low.
It's so low, and I feel like that number is probably even lower.
Yes,
now
I
that
agree.
We're this far, and you know, with just kind of the issues that we're having with social media and people not connecting human to human as much anymore. So I would say that that's probably even lower now.
And it just goes to show you that even though you may have, quote unquote, hundreds of friends like on social media, like the connections are weak.
Right.
And it even says in here, and I already knew that the low social connection, it usually ties to anxiety and violence and depression and just inflammation on a cellular level that they talk about. Like there's so many great things that can happen when you have those deep connections, and there's so many sad things that happen to your body when you don't.
Right.
Anyway, to me, this just spoke loud that it just motivates me more to just really make, in bold letters, meaningful connections with people who are like-minded and do share similar values, and just people that we want to be around with. We want to surround ourselves with other positive people. And yeah, I just thought those numbers were just really fucking scary low.
Yeah, they're damning numbers, and you know, there's a lot we can do about it, and it really starts with you just being open to, you know, getting out of your comfort zone and reaching out and either meeting new people or bringing back some of the people in your lives who might not, you know, who might have not be there as much anymore, but, you know, had an impact on you, and just, you know, starting a conversation and seeing where it goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not saying that the people we have in our life are not meaningful and amazing, but it's really nice to just, yeah, like you said, get out of your comfort zone and just to meet new people and just to stretch your mindset or stretch, you know, your abilities, and you just find that you're capable of so much more when you do that.
Absolutely. All right. So, Jilly, how about that quote of the day? Oh, another resource. Episode 30, Traveling with No Expectations. That was a good one.
Our traveling situation was slightly different. So, yeah,
it was,
if you want to compare and contrast our traveling experiences with Lucille, definitely check that one out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the quote of the day.
The quote of the day is, each contact with a human being is so rare, so precious. One should preserve it. And that was from Anais Nin.
Anais Nin.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but yeah.
It'll be in the show notes. All right. And what are we telling our listeners to do to take some action?
Your take action challenge today is reach out to people you find inspiring, or just people that you want to be friends with, and put your fear aside or the weirdness aside, and
right.
Just be like, hey, I think we have a lot in common. Can we meet up for coffee? Or
yeah.
I just think it's an act that's so simple, but I think we're so afraid of rejection or coming off as a certain way. And I felt the same way when I started doing this, but now I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, are there going to be people who tell us no? Sure. But, the people who tell us yes, and, the two that we've interviewed so far have just been amazing. And we've got plenty more of these to come.
Yes, we do. So friends, get out of your comfort zone and just try to find and connect with people you want to surround yourself with. The benefits are phenomenal.
Yes, 100%.
They've made us a little bit happier. So we are grateful.
We are definitely grateful. All right, folks, that is going to do it for today's episode. Remember, if you like this episode, please share it with a friend or on social media, because sharing sparks a conversation. Conversation leads to action, and action is how we are able to live a happy and intentional as hell lifestyle. We want to thank you all for listening today, and we will see you again next week.
See you later, guys.